Chirp YouTube channel. Today I am rebooting my series on communication books. The reason is because most of us are still at home more than usual, and after learning how to interact better with our kids during play, we also need to learn how better to support their emerging communication skills. And requesting is a huge part of communication. Communication books can also be used for commenting, for asking questions, for answering questions, all of those kind of things. But we usually start out with requesting because it's something that is very motivating to kids, because if you request something and then you get it, that's pretty good feedback and you're likely to do it again. I brought with me a very fabulous communication book today that I made myself. I'm going to quickly go through how to create something like this, and then I will go through the first stage of teaching using this protocol. The first thing you'll need is a binder. Clearly, this is not an 8x11 binder. This is I believe it's 5.5 or 5 3/4 by 8-inch binder. So it's on the smaller side. I find these a little bit easier to manage in the classroom. They don't take up quite as much room, and we don't want too many things in there. This is kind of the maximum number of things that I would put in a communication book. I also have a back page, which is strangely empty. Usually I have more items back there. That's my snacks page. Right now I just have fruit snacks and water. Not a very great choice. Usually I have more. I must have moved those to a different book for some reason. Okay, so once you have the binder, you will also need some little Velcro. I use Velcro dots. And if you can tell, let me get it a little closer there. Can you hear that? It's scritchy. This side, the side that does not move, so this piece moves. The side that does not move is the pokey side of the Velcro. The part that moves is the soft side. The reason that's important is because preschool classrooms and special ed classrooms are standardized in this way now. I learned when I got into working in these situations that the movable part was always the fuzzy side. This means that I can take my child's communication book into school and it will still work with the equipment that they have because the Velcro is being used the right way. If my movable pieces have the fuzzy side on them and the school's movable pieces have the pokey side, then they're not going to stick to the same thing and it's not going to work very well. You might want to keep in mind what color you use. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. You will need a page for inside your binder. I made this page using cardstock, which I then laminated. And I put 8 Velcro dots on the inside. Oh, some of these dots are white, so you can't even see them. So fancy. I'm going to take these all off so that you can see my spacing. And they're all going on the floor because that's super fun. They're jumping, they're making a run for it. I also put 8 on the back, although the back doesn't have very many things in it right now, and I'm going to take them off for the time being. Also, eventually you will want 3 dots on the front of your binder, and we will talk about that in a minute. Now that we have our binder set up, this is so exciting, we need to take pictures of the things in the house that our child might want to request. We want at least some toy-based things and a couple of food-based things. Normally at meal times, you're not going to be giving your child as much of a choice if you're a typical family. Maybe in your family, children get to choose what they eat from whatever it is that you made, and there are some great things about that. Most families, someone makes dinner, and that is what everyone eats. If that's the case for you, you want to pick snack foods to put in the book, which is why I have fruit snacks and water. I don't give juice in my classrooms, and most of the snacks that I have are pretty healthy comparatively, like pretzels, popcorn, things like that. I don't like to give kids garbage because then we pay the consequences, and so do their families when their families get them back. Okay, now you have things set up. Oh, I am going to insert a clip right here of how I store the small visuals like these, because you will want to have a good way to store them. Here is my little storage container for my little visuals. If I want visuals in this drawer, I have lots. I'm getting a little bit of a glare. There we go. Maybe. You can see most of them. These are most of the toys that I have in my classroom at most times. And in the classroom, I usually kind of switch them out. And when I was doing in-home therapy, I would kind of switch them out from week to week so that the kids had different options. But if I knew absolutely that the kids wanted gears and gears wasn't in the book, I would go get the gears picture and put it in the book. So that's how I store my pictures. I got that from a hardware store. Lowe's, I think, or Home Depot, one of those kind of stores. They use it for little nails and things, but I used this labeler to label all of them. I used to have them in alphabetical order, but I got new things often enough that keeping them in alphabetical order was really difficult. So when I got something new, I would just take off the old label and put on the new label and just leave it where it was. So it is no longer in alphabetical order. I might as well also show you my laminator. Let us just scroll right down here. This is my laminator. It's kind of hard to do with one hand. There you go. That's my particular one. As I said, I've had it for a long time. These are the little plastic things. It's a little sleeve, and you put your paper inside, and then you run the paper through here. And it laminates it nicely for you. Very convenient. I also forgot to mention how I create these. You'll notice that some of them look like this. They're little drawings, and some of them are photos that I took and printed. These come from a program called Boardmaker. I'll put a link to that down below. You can use that digitally, or you can buy the software. I bought the software probably almost 20 years ago, and it's still going strong. The digital version you have to pay by the year, which kind of annoys me, but that's okay. It works, and it's fast and easy and quite a bit cheaper. So that's amazing. You can use Boardmaker if you wish to, but you can also take pictures of whatever it is that you want in your book, like this house, and glue them onto cardstock. And then I always glue mine onto construction paper as well, so that it's double thick, but also because there are times when the color means something. When I was working in preschool, we'd have different color visuals for each one of the kids so that we knew where things went. So John's schedule would be all orange construction paper around the back. And that helped us to stay organized, but it also helped John to focus because he learned that orange things were his color. So he knew where to go in the classroom. If we put the orange placemat, John would sit at the orange placemat. At home, you probably won't care as much about the background color, but it can also be nice as we move on into later stages of this process. It can be nice to have commenting words or adjectives or question words be a different color. So choose a color for your requesting things and just go with that for right now. I like blue best, but sometimes I run out of blue construction paper, and then we get red or we get orange. In my classroom, the class time is short enough and the kids are numerous enough that we don't have a dedicated color for every student. Alrighty, now you know how to make the book, you know how to make this small visuals, and by the way, I laminate everything, which you have seen since it's all nice and shiny and sturdy so the paper doesn't fall apart. I've had most of these visuals for at least 10 years, I would say, and look at what great shape they're in. I have a very inexpensive laminator that I got from Amazon, I think, maybe from Staples at the time, but I will link a similar one in the box below, and I recommend that you use it. Just laminate everything. It's really fun, and the smell of melting plastic smells lovely. It's not good for you, so you might want to do it outside, or at least in a well-ventilated room, but I really like that smell for some reason. By the way, I will also put a link to this size binder down below that you can get for yourself. I recommend having at least 5 of them, depending on where your child is going to be. One that maybe she can take to school with her, one stays in the car, so you always have that if you're going into a store, a couple of them in the house in various places, not necessarily with the same stuff in them. But to start with, you probably just need one, because we're just starting with one to see how this goes. Our very first stage of this protocol is a physical exchange. We don't want to put a bunch of things in the book for this stage. All we want is one thing. Look at your kid. If your kid is reaching for the rocket balloons on the shelf, you quick get the book, you put the rocket balloons on the front, and assuming that your child doesn't just reach for it and give it to you immediately, you take your hand, you put it over the child's hand. This is hard to do on screen, also because I can't keep the book in the screen. You take your hand, you put it over the child's hand, you pull the picture off, and then you hand it to yourself with the child's hand in your hand, and you say, "Oh, rocket balloons!" And then you get the rocket balloons and you play rocket balloons. When your child starts looking bored, you put the rocket balloons away, you watch your child again. What is your child looking at? What does your child appear to want to do? And if you decide that it's the penguin run, you get the penguin run picture, you put it on the book, hand, pick it up, hand it to yourself. Penguins! And then you get the penguins down and you play penguins for a while. And then you get the penguins down and you play penguins for a while.
Let's go set it up and then you can roll the ball. Thank you, sir.
No.
Can I have some crackers?
Cracker.
Ready? The one here. You go. No, we're not going to sit down here. You're going to sit there so you can roll it. Stand up.
Jackson, thank you for that.
Yes.
Very good cleaning up.
You know what
We're gonna put
that's
them on here.
lightsaber.
You're going to help me set it up so you can roll the ball like that. Right there. Thank you.
Cracker.
Another one down. Can you put this one down? Put it right here. Thank you.
Some kids are used to getting what they want by crying and screaming. You're going to have to break that habit. So if you try to take your child's hand, pick the picture, have her give it to you, and she just starts screaming and she's hitting you because she doesn't want to have to ask, she just wants you to get it for her. It's a little bit of a process to break through that. You need to be consistent. So if you decide to start this process, it needs to be that every time she wants something that's in the book, she has to hand you the picture. Because if it is a random thing, the tantrums and screaming and hitting will last longer. We need to let that die out. We need to be consistent. Consistency is hard, but I believe in you. We want to make sure that we're not doing any sort of prompting during this stage, or indeed most of the stages of this. I don't want my child to become dependent on my prompt. So I don't put this in front of the child and say, "What do you want?" or "Show me what you want." All I do is help her pick it and hand it to me. And then I say, "Penguins." And we go get the penguins. I don't want, what usually happens is people will prompt a child what do you want? And the child gets used to what do you want, meaning I'm supposed to pick something. And so they pick something. But it doesn't come from the inside. And the very important thing, especially for kids who have an autism spectrum disorder, is that their communication be intrinsically motivated. It be motivated from the inside. It's important that they be the ones to initiate the communication. And in this case, of course, the child is initiating only by reaching or by looking at something or by wanting something. That is also initiation. We're assuming that we know what the kid wants, and sometimes that's not right. Sometimes we'll be wrong. And if that's the case, you help the kid hand you penguins, and you say penguins, and you get the penguins down, and the kid throws the penguins and has a tantrum and runs towards something else. You just got it wrong, and you model, I changed my mind, or that's not what I want, and you try again. It's okay if you made a mistake and if you didn't understand what the child meant. We're both learning in this process. We're both getting better at communicating with each other, and it will get easier. That is your first stage of using a communication book. There will be lots and lots more info in the box down below. And don't hesitate to leave your questions, your comments, and your success stories. You can't see my fingers. There we go. Your success stories about what's working for you and how your child is improving in his or her communication skills. I hope you're well. Stay healthy. I hope there are things in this day that raise your spirits and make you happy. See you in my next video. Bye.